Well, good evening, everybody. It is 8 o'clock. So I'd like to start sharp. And to introduce myself, my name is Vincent Kelly. I am from the Southeast Midlands I came from the town between Athy and Castledermot, down in Kildare, and moved up to Dublin in the 90s, went travelling in Europe, came across some stuff, got very interested, been promoting it ever since, and been helping people, on a kind of a long-term basis. So I want to welcome everybody who has joined us on Facebook and on Instagram and on YouTube. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. And for all of you on those platforms, if you have any questions that you want to ask, any comments, pop them into the comment section on those platforms and they'll come back around to me. I have Zoom open here beside me, so if you have any comments, somebody's keeping an eye on that for me and I'll get them directly. So please don't hesitate to pop your questions or your comments in. And for everybody on Zoom, I can see you all directly here. Thank you so much for being here. So thank you, Georgana. Georgana, I've pronounced it wrong and I apologize immediately. Jen, Kathy, Marie and Lauren. Thank you so much for being here. Now the first thing I normally ask people to do is, if you don't mind, would you please pop into the chat where you're from, like where you're living, or are you from, the Ukraine, or are you from Ireland, and where in Ireland, are you from America? Because I get people from all over the place that come to my webinar, so I'd really like to find out where you're from. Would you mind popping it into the chat? Marie from Nace, you're just up the road, Marie. Sure, you could practically shout down at you there. Now, great, Marie. I'm Kildare man myself, so like brother and sister already. Okay, anybody else? Belfast, Lauren, great. Love Belfast. Worked in it many times up there beside City Hall in the middle, big shopping street. Love that area. Marie, low. Don't know what that means, low. Okay, anybody else pop in where you're from? If you're from another country, pop into country, because I probably won't be able to guess the city. If you're from Ireland, pop in the town or the county or something, anything. Pop it in there. Georgiana, Bulgaria, living in Romania. Oh, wonderful, great. Georgiana, thank you so much for joining us. You're actually in Bulgaria right now. That's wonderful. And thank you very much for joining us from Bucharest. And you're from Bulgaria. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Anybody else want to pop in where you're from? That would be just wonderful. And sure, we'll give it another 5 seconds and then we'll move on, okay? Because as you learn from my webinar, I tend to be very kind of snap and pop and get things done in and out, and that's it. Okay, Mick, you're from Bray. Hiya, Mick. Thanks very much for joining us, Mick. Really appreciate it. From beautiful Wicklow, home of Glendalough and all those beautiful spiritual places. Love it. Okay, folks, so thank you all so much. Let's launch straight into this. This webinar is about a popular subject and kind of important. It's kind of important, and it's called happiness, okay? Let's just say it's kind of important. In fact, this particular webinar, the reason I got into this is particularly because of this subject. And by the way, my webinar tonight is based on this book, Dianetics, which means through the mind. And I came across this in '92. I've been promoting this subject, working with people on a one-to-one basis for over 25 years. And I'm going to tell you at the end about a 4-part course that I deliver based on the book. So if you want to follow it up, then you can. So, happiness. Right. Now, when we think about happiness, we think about, things that give us pleasure. Okay? We have whatever that is. It could be seeing your child say their first word. It could be going for a cup of tea with a friend. It could be cycling down a hill. It could be being out in the fresh air, walking your dog, with your partner. It could be anything. Okay? So the things that a person experiences happiness from are just vast, absolutely vast. And in fact, one of my key purposes in life, my personal key purpose in life, is I want to see people happy. I want to help people to become happier and stably happy. Not just happy for a couple of hours and then they're down in the dumps again. It's stably happy. And I'm doing that because this particular subject has really helped me to become just naturally on that level for a vast portion of the time. Look, obviously when we run into barriers, sometimes it can knock us down, but you want to get up there to a good level of happiness in your life, okay? So when we're talking about happiness, we're talking about pleasure, we're talking about a good feeling, contentment, the feeling like you're getting where you want to go, you're happy with your situation, you're happy with your partner, things are going well, okay? So this is happiness. Now, there's a beautiful definition of happiness that I want to read out for you. It's from page 50 of this book here, and it really made sense to me when I read it, so I want to just draw it for you, okay? So this is a lovely definition of happiness, and here we go. It's only matchstick men because I chose Latin instead of art. I don't regret it, but matchstick men is the limit, okay? Don't ask me to draw a car. I've attempted many times. Okay, happiness is the overcoming of not unknown obstacles. So this is an obstacle or a barrier. And by the way, as we're going through this, if you think of any examples or things that you're thinking about going through this, just hang on to them, because I pause during these webinars to ask you for examples. So hold on to your examples if you have some. So happiness is the overcoming of not unknown obstacles toward a known goal. Okay? Happiness is the overcoming of not unknown obstacles toward a known goal. So, if you don't have a goal, if you don't know where you're going in your life, you don't have any goal in any area of your life, or your barriers, you just can't get over the barriers towards your goals, then you're going to experience this thing called unhappiness. It's just unhappiness. Whereas, if you feel like you're getting there in terms of yourself or your family or whatever, you will feel that happiness coming in, and that pleasure goes along with it. Okay? So now, there are a couple of little areas that you need to place goals in. And those areas, for example, a person might have a goal. Number one is basically self. He might have a goal, self. Here's my attempt to draw a car. There we go. Okay. Yeah, you see, it's terrible. Okay? A terrible car. It's not even a car. We're going to have to put an extra wheel there. So there we go. Person wants to get a car. Perfect. That's their goal in life. They want to buy a car. So if they feel they're getting there, they're saving up enough money, they're picking the right thing, they know who to go to, they've learned about cars, they're going to feel happiness in that area. That could be money. It could be personal health. It could be personal fitness. It could be whatever it is. It could be getting a house. Whatever it is, that goal is increasing your knowledge, that kind of thing. All right? But there are other areas as well which are vital. So for example, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with having a ton of money. You can have 5 or 6 cars if you want. 16 houses, I don't mind. You know, a bit of land, a few cows and a few sheep and a few chickens and hens and whatever else you want. All right? Nothing wrong with that. But there are other goals that you need to keep into your attention, and that is, the second one is the relationship and family. Okay? So a person could be very successful in terms of getting physical things and position and all this kind of thing, but they might be very unhappy in this area because they don't have a goal and they're not achieving their goals, or it's too hard to get the goals. Okay? So you could be very happy sort of in one area, but if this is missing, you're going to feel it up here. Okay? And the next one is groups. Okay? If you're a part of a group and your group is doing well, whether that's your community or your football team or your business or your the reading club that you're part of, or whatever it is, your group of friends, you want to see them doing well, and you have a goal to see your group doing well. So if you ignore that, if you ignore being part of a group, you're going to feel it in your happiness. Okay? Because the goals have to be in these particular areas. And the last one here, which people sometimes forget about, is mankind. Okay? And this just means having a goal to help people in general, wherever they are in the world. Okay? Whether you're helping people in Africa, or with in drought areas, or you are doing something for in Ireland the St. Vincent de Paul, or whatever it is that you're doing to help other people. That's this mankind goal. Each one of us has a very strong impulse to help other people, and this is why I'm here tonight, because I want to help you. That's my only reason. I want to help you to do better. So this is mankind, and you do have to have a goal in that area. Even if it's a small goal, you have to put the goal there. So there has to be a goal in terms of yourself, relationships, group, and mankind. So this is why sometimes you see people who are very successful, very wealthy, lots of physical things, beautiful house, wonderful social life, but still very, very unhappy underneath. Now, I didn't say there's anything wrong with having those things, but a person needs to have happiness in all these areas as well. It's not just a one-track thing. It consists of multiple things. Okay? So happiness is the overcoming of not unknown obstacles toward a known goal. If you have a goal to lose weight and you're getting there, it's moving along, yes. Or you have a goal to get fit and it's moving along, you're getting fitter, you're getting healthier, you're going to feel the happiness. But if you cannot stick to your diet, or you cannot stick to your fitness program, that happiness is going to kick down again. So now, let's just start off a basic definition of happiness. What I normally do now is just have a little look at how this plays out in life. Okay? And then I'm going to show you, just going to go over this very briefly, and then I'm going to show you 2 basic rules that you need to keep in to keep that happiness up. And the third thing I'm going to go over is an underlying thing which can really cause you problems applying the 2 rules that I'm going to give you. Okay? So we have unhappiness. Okay? Now, unhappiness is a massive, massive issue. Yes, it can be the result of other things, as I mentioned. Okay? But it in itself can cause all sorts of different effects in a person's life. It can absolutely wreck a person's life and their ability to start their own business, make their relationship go right, study, do what they want to do with their lives, So, but we want to have a look here now, and I want you to put your thinking cap on here, because I'll ask you for a couple of examples here as part of the webinar. What are the other effects of unhappiness? So I'm going to just pop a couple on board here, and there's a couple of obvious ones. Unhappiness, if a person is not happy, it leads to negative thinking. Okay? Okay? Leads to negative thinking. They start thinking that, I don't think I'm going to be successful, I'm not good enough, or whatever. Okay? And it can also lead to negative actions. The more unhappy a person is, the more likely they are to do negative things. They're more likely to make mistakes. Okay? So let me just see, I have a couple of more examples here. Okay. Negative emotions, negative thinking. It could be affecting the family. Okay? So for example, if you have a family and a husband or wife and kids, and you're very unhappy, it's going to affect family. It is, because it's very hard to fake it, because kids are usually very, very sensitive to their parents. They can kind of pick up what's going on without you saying it. Okay? So that's affecting family. What else did I write down here? And also affects mistakes. It can cause you basically to make mistakes and wrong decisions. Okay? So these are a couple of the effects of happiness. And now I want to ask you, this is your first practical experience of participating in the webinar. So what I'd like you to do right now is pop down any other effects that lack of happiness can have on a person. If you don't mind popping it into the chat, that would be great. So I'd really like you to add to this list. What other effects would unhappiness have on a person's life? Whether it's to do with themselves, their health, family, relationships, their studies, their job, their business, their goals, their position in the community, whatever. So just take a moment to think of that and pop your examples into the chat if you don't mind. Okay. Jacqueline, I see you had no sound there. I hope that's solved for you now. Yeah, okay, good. Marie, health. Good? Yeah, of course. You know the interesting thing? Thought comes first. Your thinking comes first, then your emotion, and then effort. So when we're talking about the body, and it's explained very, very nicely in the book, for anybody who's interested in getting the book afterwards, that before you get a physical down, there's usually a mental down, usually 3 days beforehand. So if a person's, maybe he's got the flu or something, let's just say. Now look, this is not to say that all illnesses are caused by the mind by far, okay? But it definitely can affect the condition of a body, usually 3 days later. A person hits unhappiness, 3 days later, it can affect the body. Okay? Next, ability to socialize. Great, thank you very much. Okay, good. Thanks, Marie. Top of the class. You're top of the class. Anybody else want to pop in one there? Marie's beating everybody. Okay, so social life. Yeah, exactly. Ability to socialize. If you're not happy, you're not exactly going to be in the mood for going out. Yeah, lives and families destroyed. Yeah. Bing bong. That's this one here. Definitely. If you have a person in your life who is very unhappy, they have... it affects others. It does affect others. If you're unhappy yourself all the time, it's going to affect yourself and it's going to affect others. So thank you, John. And then depression. Yeah, it's kind of the same kind of thing. It's just this kind of sadness. Yeah, we can just pop that in. Kind of sadness. Yeah, good. Okay, folks, thank you so much. Now, so those are some of the basic effects. But look, we know that if you're not happy, it's going to affect whether you're successful in your job or your life. So let's go into the first rule. Before I do that, I'm going to pop up the little summary as we're going along, so that you can kind of track with what we're chasing here. Okay. So the first thing in terms of happiness, the basic definition, which is you need to have a goal and overcome barriers, okay? That's the first thing to keep in mind. If you don't have a goal, you absolutely need to place one. If you're hitting barriers, there are things that you're going to have to do to actually, you're going to have to basically persist through those barriers and not give up, okay? Now, so the next thing is this. As I mentioned, happiness is not just all about buying things, okay? Now, I know many friends of mine who get a lot of happiness from going shopping and coming back with shopping bags, and they're like delighted. They're absolutely delighted. Or people going off and they buy a new car and they're just thrilled, okay? Absolutely thrilled. Nothing wrong with that. Fantastic. However, there is another ingredient in life, and that ingredient is other people. Okay? Yes, there is you. Yes, there is your own condition and how you feel. That's fine. But how you handle and deal with other people and the things that they do to you and the things that you do to them can massively affect your happiness. Okay? For example, you're feeling great one day. Things are going well. You just came home from shopping and that's great. And then a thief comes in and robs your handbag. Okay? Bang. Down you go. So what other people do to you definitely can affect your happiness. On the reverse side, what you do to others can also affect your happiness. In terms of, let's say if you, I don't know, you're a car salesman and you know a guy has only got like 5,000 euros for a car, and you force him kind of in a very heavy sales pitch to buy a car worth 20 grand, and it's too much for him, and you know it. You know it. You've just done something to somebody else that is actually going to make you feel bad inside. So the more you do that, the worse it gets. Why? Why is this? Because this person, so there's Joe, and there's Mary, okay? This person, whether they're a neighbor, or friend, or family member, or whatever, is part of your life, is part of the different parts of your life that you have to associate with. It is not just about physical objects. Even though money and cars and all these kind of things, I have no problem with them. I love driving my car, and there's nothing wrong with having a few quid in the bank. Why not? Or having 15 businesses. Go ahead and do it. But other people are definitely part of this whole situation. And if you ignore this aspect, it is massively going to affect your happiness. Now, so I'm going to give you 2 rules for happy living. This particular thing is, I don't want to go down the philosophic route, because I'm going to show you how this blends into the third part of this, which is something internal that affects your ability to be happy. Okay? So what I'm going to go over with you are some general statements which you can apply on an immediate basis. But in order to get out of the realm of kind of philosophy, and I want to just go into, or the study of wisdom, this is the wisdom about philosophy, is just to get into the root. I'm going to go into the root of what's going on inside you. Okay, so the first thing is this, and I'm going to write this up on the board so that it's nice and clear. Okay, now this is from the works of L. Ron Hubbard as well, and so I'm going to write this down for you. Okay, now I've run out of space. See? I should have went to art. I should have did art. I could have been a painter. Could have been amazing. Anyway, let's just leave Joe and Mary up there, okay? Let's just leave Joe and Mary up there, okay? And I put a circle there and I put a circle here. Okay, good, perfect, that's art. There you go. Mary, got to give you a title. Okay, here is the first rule for happy living, and I'm going to expand on this with a little bit of a segment from the quote itself, okay? Okay, so here's number 1. Cause only those things which others are able, it's like being back in school waiting for the teacher to finish what's on the board. Anyway, I'll be done in a minute. Hang on. Are able to experience easily. Okay, now, let's not get into the whole do's and don'ts about life, and this is not my purpose, but it's important to know this data because it's got a direct effect on your happiness simply because other people are included in that network of you. Okay? Cause only those things which others are able to experience easily. Okay, now I've just realized I gave you number 2 before number 1, but it's fine. It's fine. I didn't even mean to give you that one. I meant to give you a different one. But anyway, we're going to go over this one, number 2, first. So this is the second rule for happy living, which I'm going to give you first. Okay? Cause only those things which others are able to experience easily. Now, why is this important? It's important because if you don't do things which others can experience easily, and you do things which are destructive to Mary, for example, that person is part of your life. And you are going to feel it in a little bit of somewhere in the background. You are going to feel it when you do something that other people cannot experience easily. Now let me just break this down a little bit so it's clear. If you have a friend, right, and your friend is totally fine with being teased, or as we say in Ireland, slagged. You go into the room and your first impulse is to make jokes about him, and he's completely fine with that and loves it. All right? You tell him he's too short, he's too tall, he hasn't got a brain in his head. It could be just a joke. You're not taking it seriously, but you're just joking with the guy. You're teasing with him. But he's able to experience it easily. He's able to experience it easily. So you are causing something which he can experience easily. Great. Now, if you try the same thing to a different person, so let's say you try to make the same jokes with somebody new in the office. And this somebody new in the office is very sensitive. Okay? What you're going to cause is you're going to cause frustration, you're going to cause stress, you're going to cause upset. And you are going to feel that. And you are going to regret it. Okay? Because part of this is this thing of, you know what, I shouldn't really have done that. Therefore, I'm going to be more careful in the future. The problem is, as soon as you say, I'm going to be more careful in the future, what happens is, it tends to expand into the other parts of life. You tend to start thinking, well, you know what, I'm going to be careful in general. I should be more careful. I should be more careful. So the more times that you do things to other people that they cannot experience easily, you are going to pull yourself back and back and back to a point where you're not causing things. And that is a very unhappy state of being. If you're not causing things, you are built, you are designed to cause things. And if you stop causing things and you stop creating things because of doing things that other people cannot experience, it is going to pull you back, and that is going to cause you to feel bad. And it is going to cause you to feel unhappy. Okay? I'll give you another example. If, let's say, you're drunk and you're walking down the street and you punch a guy on the head and you knock him down. Okay? Now, maybe he doesn't see you because you walked on and whatever, but you remember it and you're going to regret it. And you're going to feel like, you know what, I shouldn't have done that. And what happens is you restrain yourself from doing something like that in the future. So in general, what you do is you put a kind of a rein on yourself. Okay? So that's causing something that another person cannot experience easily. Whereas, let's look at the other side. Let's say if you were trained in boxing, okay? And you go into a ring, and the other guy who's been trained in boxing, also for 10 years, and both of you have, you can punch the guy in the head and he doesn't even feel it half the time. So you punch the guy, but this guy can experience it. He's had punches for his whole life. It doesn't bother him at all. Punch him on the head, it's fine. In a boxing ring with this situation, you know what I mean? Because he can experience it easily. So the tip here is this. Here is the tip. When you are doing something to somebody else, whether that's an action that you make or a decision that you make, here's what you need to do. And that is this word I'm going to put in. Observe. Let me just get rid of this a little bit here. You're going to have to observe the person and work out for yourself, can the person experience what I'm going to say, or is it just going to be too much for them? Can they experience it easily? If they cannot experience it easily, you need to go about approaching it in a different way. For example, if you found out that your friend's partner was in a car crash, okay? Now you can go up to your friend and say, hey, just so you know, your partner's been in a car crash. Bang, it might be too much for them because they can't experience it so suddenly. Well, you might start it off by saying, listen, can I talk to you for a few minutes? Is it okay if I drop over? and you build it up on a gradient, on a bit by bit. Listen, can I have a cup of tea? I need to tell you something. Okay, fine. And then the person's getting concerned. Yeah, it's about your partner. I just wanted to go over it. And you kind of build it in on a little bit of a gradual basis. It's more easy for them to experience it. Whereas if you go in with too much impact, it can be too much for somebody, and you're going to feel it yourself. So the tip here is to observe. Before you take an action, or you do something with somebody, or you say something to somebody, or you shout at somebody, or you break a plate on the ground, or you slam the door, think of this first. Can this person experience it easily? If your partner, your husband or your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend really gets upset with slamming doors and cannot experience it easily, then don't slam the doors. Now, if you're living in a house where people are totally fine on slamming doors, well, then it's not really an issue. Okay? So this is the first rule. Cause only those things which others are able to experience easily. And the reason it's important is because it will affect your happiness, because that person is part of your life. It is part of your life. Okay. Now, so, next thing. I want to ask you this, and this is your next practical exercise. So, I want you to think about your answer to this and write it on the chat. Think about something that you could do that a person could experience easily. Okay? The rule here is cause only those things which others are able to experience easily. So what I want you to do is write into the chat, or if you're on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, pop it into the comments, something that you could do to somebody that they could experience easily, that they're able to deal with it. They're like, they're able to deal with it, whether it's good news or bad news or whatever, but they're able to experience it easily. Okay? So pop that into the chat, and then we're going to move on to rule 1. I'll give you rule 2, and now I'm going to give you rule 1 in a minute. So give an example of an action you could take that somebody could experience easily, and pop it into the chat. Anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be, I don't know, buying somebody a bunch of flowers, calling in to say hi. It could be giving somebody bad news, but in a very, very gentle way. It could be, as a boss, you might have an employee who's not producing. So instead of going in and threatening that if you don't produce, you're out of here tomorrow, because the person might not be able to experience, you might just send them into shock, which is actually going to affect you. You might just sit down with the person and say, can we have a chat? I want to have a look at your production. What's been happening? And you can do it gradually. In fact, a lot of companies, when they're talking about employees and discipline and all this kind of stuff, it's become very much like this. Treat the employee with more respect and don't do things too suddenly. Okay. Kathy, compliment. Beautiful, Kathy. Simple thing. And you know what? A genuine compliment is nice. Because sometimes when you compliment somebody and you don't really mean it, sometimes the other person will know it. Oh, you look really well today, but they don't really think that. So when you're making a compliment, it's nice to kind of find something that you genuinely, honestly think is wonderful about the person, And so yeah, it's good. Compliment, very good, and they are able to experience that easily. Usually they're very nice to experience. Thank you, Kathy. Jorgana, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, give them support. Yeah, why not? People do need help and they do want help, so give them a little bit of help. Thank you. Marie, consider the person's feelings before reacting. Perfect, Marie, and this is exactly what I was talking about. Before you go in and you launch in, before you launch the torpedoes, observe. What is the effect that this is going to have on the person? Are they able to experience it easily, or is it too much for them? And yes, relax, calm the ham before you do it. Now I'll explain in a few minutes something that causes you to lose the temper or to cause those reactions to kick it out without your permission in a few minutes. Okay, good, folks, thank you so much. Now, so that's the second rule, which I gave you first. Next one. So this has to do with things that you do. Now we're going to have a look at the other side. Okay? We're going to have a look at the other side of it. And here's rule 1, which I should have given you first. But anyway, not to worry. Rule 1. And let me just put this in blue as well. Be able to experience anything. Okay, now, be able to experience anything. What does that mean? It basically means you should be growing in your ability to face things in life, things that could go wrong, things that do go wrong, and so forth. Okay? Because if you are not able to experience a huge amount of things, those things are going to knock your happiness down time after time after time. For example, let's say a guy, he can take care of one rabbit. That's about as much as he can handle, one rabbit. Now, if that rabbit dies, and he can't experience this rabbit dying, and it's a huge, huge shock for him. But if another fella, he's got 10 rabbits, and he's able to manage all of these rabbits, and one of the rabbits dies, he's much more able to experience it. Okay? For example, another one, let's say you work in a job, and you want to become a manager. Okay, now, that sounds fantastic in theory, but remember that managers have to be able to experience a lot more pressure. Okay? So if you cannot experience the pressure from the upper management or from personnel or from customers that a manager is going to get, if you can't experience that, you're not going to survive on the role. So, I know this is theoretical right now, but I'm going to show you in a minute how to build this up again, okay? Be able to experience anything, which basically means build yourself up to actually be able to face things. And the more you can face things, the much less of an effect negative things will have on your happiness, the more you're able to deal with it. Okay? So let's say a good example are people who work in the police or with the fire services or the ambulance, right? These people are able to just see, they're able to experience any type of situation that's going on. A guy has half a leg on the road, they don't go into shock. They're able to experience it. For example, if your house went on fire, you'd be running and you'd be in total shock. Whereas a fireman can come up and just go, he can face it. He can face the fire and handle it. So the more you are able to face things in life, the less likely it is that things are going to go and have a negative effect on you. An example is this. When I was in college, I practiced karate for, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years, but our karate instructor was just amazing. He was a black belt, really, really nice guy, very friendly, and never pulled in any aggression, never pulled in any messy situations. I think he used to do security, but never pulled in any of these messy situations. Why? Because he was able to experience it. From his point of view, if something happened, he'd know what to do to handle it. He knew what to do to handle it, so he was able to experience it. Whereas, if you had somebody who's always afraid of going out and dealing with people in life or handling messy situations, if something goes wrong, it can have a massive effect on your happiness. Okay? Now, let me see. There's an example. Okay, so here is your next exercise. What I want you to do is have a little look at your life. And I want you to just write down what area of your life would you like to be able to face better? What area of your life would you like to be able to face better? Is it physical health? Is it fitness? Is it nutrition? Is it relationships? Is it your husband, your wife, your kids, your family? The relationship with your mother, your father, your business, your neighborhood. what in your life would you like to be able to face better? Okay? Because what I'm going to go over next is the main thing that stops you from doing that. Okay? So just take a moment to pop that into the chat. Yeah. An example of an area of your life that you would like to be able to face better. And type it in for me if you don't mind. I better draw it here for you, because the stronger you are in terms of being able to face things, the more able you are, the much less likely it is that things are going to go wrong. It's like magic. You know, if you're able to handle it, things generally don't go wrong. But if you're not able, you're not, whatever, things usually just go wrong, or can go wrong. Okay. Jordana, thank you. Healthcares and relationships. Great, thank you. Good, so we're going to go over in a minute a major thing that blocks your ability to face any area of your life. Thank you very much, Jordana. Who have we got there? Lauren, relationships, good. And you know, this is a massive thing. I remember years ago, right, and there was a girl I liked, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to ask her out, but I just so shy, I just couldn't face it. I couldn't handle it if she said no. I couldn't handle it. So I put it off, and I put it off, and I put it off. And then finally I was in the middle of exams at the time, and finally I went, okay, you know what, Vinny, just be stronger. Whatever she says doesn't matter. You know, if she says yes, great. If she says no, fine. But just go up and face it. Like the Nike ad, just do it. I had to get to a point where, like, okay, that's it now. I'm just doing it. That's it. Forget about all these thoughts of maybe I can, yeah, what? Just do it, as Nike say. So I went and I did it, and it was successful. So I did it over the phone. I didn't do it in person, but I did it over the phone, so it still counts. Okay, so thank you very much, Lauren. It's important. Marie, my partner's circumstances that subsequently impact us. Fantastic. Okay, and Marie, what I'm going to go over with you in a minute is something that you probably relate to in this area, which will be helpful. John, to deal with my past mistakes. Excellent, John. Thank you so much, because past mistakes basically hold you back. They basically hold you. And they have to be cleared up and handled. And we'll go into the next section about that. Cathy, dealing with my brother getting a terminal brain tumor diagnosis. Good. And that's a massive thing. Massive. And it is so painful and hard sometimes to handle a situation where somebody is going through that experience or having a very serious disease. Now, what I'm going to go into this right now with you is going to help you to build that up. Okay? I can experience it easily. Okay, good, Vlado. I'm glad you can experience it easily. Okay, so that's the first rule, which I gave you. Second, be able to experience anything. So let me just pop this on the board for you. So be able to experience anything. And look, without me even going into the next section, you can start to apply this immediately. Just take what Nike said, just do it. You know, it kind of often just comes down to that. Okay? And then the last one here, I'm just going to pop in. And then we're going to get into the root. So cause only those things which others can experience. You know, I feel like a teacher. I have to keep an eye on the class, you know, to see if there's nobody throwing chewing gum across the class or something, or throwing pencils. Okay? So I hope you're all paying attention. I'm only joking. I'm just reliving my student days. Okay. Okay, so there are three basics I went over. Make sure to set your goal and to be able to overcome the barriers, be able to experience anything, and cause only those things which others can experience easily. Now, I'm going to go into this thing, which is the most important part of my webinar, and this is the reason I am here tonight. Because this particular thing will cause you trouble in these areas. It causes you to forget about your goals or to be confused about where you're going. It causes you to give up when you hit a barrier, okay, or get very stressed out. It causes you to be afraid of experiencing life, and so withdrawing because you're not able to experience anything. And any bad thing that goes on affects you very badly. And that's the problem here. And then the last thing, cause only those things which others can experience easily. This thing can cause you to do things that you know you shouldn't do. Okay? To other people. So let me break this down. When you were a kid, guys, how am I going to make this small? I need to expand. I need to get one of these digital ones. Okay, let's do it in blue. Okay, if you look at kids these days, okay, if you look at kids, they're generally have got this word that they're carrying around, and that word is happy. Okay? They're generally very happy. They're getting along with life, They're waking up with a smile in the morning. They can't wait to go outside and play with their friends. Good. So there's the age 5. Now, you take that same person, okay, age 45. Now, technically, this person has got a lot more experience in life, has got a lot more enjoyment potential, has got the ability to achieve their goals much more easily because they've got knowledge and they've got strength and they've got experience. How is it that this person is unhappy? Okay? Of course, these are factors. The primary thing that's going on here, the primary thing is what has happened. Okay? Get this person facing that way. You have to look that way for a minute, okay? It's what we call the person's time track. You have a record of every single thing that's happened to you. Of course, you don't necessarily remember a cup of tea that you had 15 days ago. Who cares about that? It's just in the filing cabinet somewhere. Who cares? But you have an exact record of what's happened to you in the past. And you use that to solve problems in your life. So you learn how to ride a bike, so now you can get up on a bike without even thinking about it. Or you learn how to drive a car, and now you can drive a car. So you have a time track. It's a complete record of what's happened to you since you were between 5 and 45, for the example's sake. However, there are 2 types of things that stick in a negative way. Okay? And these are experiences of physical pain and unconsciousness. Okay? So for example, this kid is 5 and now he's got a new bike and he's cycling down a hill and he realizes he doesn't know how to pull the brakes. So he goes over and he has a very severe bang on his head and he's rushed to hospital. That's a physical pain and there's an element of unconsciousness. And that type of incident sticks the person's attention to some degree. The other type of incident, okay, is painful emotion and loss. Okay? These are the 2 types of incidents that stick to the person. And when I say stick, I mean that they are stored there as reminders underneath the surface to help a person, to prevent the same situation happening again. So if you've had an accident or an injury, an operation, that incident has stuck. If you've lost somebody close to you, a friend or a family member or a partner, or there's a threat of loss, somebody got extremely ill and you thought you were going to lose them, that sticks. Now, all these other incidents, all fine, okay? But these 2 particularly are, I'm going to introduce a new word here, they are reactive. These incidents are reactive. What does that mean? It means that all it takes is for something similar in present time to remind you of what happened in the past, and the feeling that you had from here can start to come in and affect the way you think. So for example, if you, I don't know, let's say the kid fell off his bike, hit his head, ended up in hospital, okay, for 5 days. Now, he's walking through a hospital, and he gets the smell of the hospital. He gets the smell of the hospital, and he sees a little kid going past, and that kid has a broken arm, okay? There's enough similarity here to what happened before to trigger it off. Now, these incidents that have happened to you are contained in a package. And this package we call, in Dianetics, the reactive mind. And it's called reactive because it's push button. In other words, there is a part of your mind and this storage of stuff that is able to be triggered by something outside of you. And that's why it is not completely under your control. Okay? So for example, he's forgotten about this fall off his bike, and now he's in hospital, and for some reason he just doesn't feel good. He doesn't feel good at all. He's feeling, maybe he's getting a headache, maybe he's just feeling bad, he's just not feeling happy anymore. What's happening here is that incident is getting triggered. Now, what about happiness? Okay? If you were in a relationship, okay, and you had a loss here, you lost somebody close to you, and it was massive, it was 10 years ago, and you've tried to move on, and now you're 45, and you're now in a new relationship, all it takes is for one thing to go wrong there, in that relationship, for this past loss to get triggered, and it brings on this feeling of sadness, and it affects your ability to deal with it. So in other words, this package causes you to react uncontrollably. And after you've done it, after you've lost your temper, broken a plate off your son's head by accident, after you have screamed at your employee, and then you realize afterwards you shouldn't have, after you've done all that, you realize, God, that wasn't me at all. Why did I do that? Why did I do that now? Why did I go out and drink 14 bottles of vodka last night when all I had to do was apologize to my wife? Why is it? It's because something got triggered, it kicked in and starts affecting the way you think, the way you act, and the way you feel. So what I'm saying to you is this: the primary reason for unhappiness is not present time. Really. It's baggage from the past. And when I say baggage, I mean moments that you've experienced which had physical pain and loss. Those two central things. And they're the main things that we concentrate on in Dianetics to help the person to clear that up. Now, a couple of little examples here that I wrote down for you, and then I'm going to ask you for one example before we wrap up, and I'm going to show you what I recommend you do. Okay. Okay, another one. Okay. One last thing I want to mention about this. This reactive mind that you're carrying around with you is a little bit like a kind of an animal part of the mind, the way an animal would react in some ways. Okay? It's not the part, it's not something that thinks very clearly. It's not like you or me. Me and you, without all this crap, we usually think clearly. But this part of your mind does not think clearly. Kid falls off a bike. 10 years later, he sees a similar bike. The reactive mind says, stay away. It's pain. It might not be pain. It's just a similar bike, but the reactive mind doesn't care. As soon as it sees something similar, it's going to say, stay away. Person lost his partner. Now he's having trouble in the new relationship. The reactive mind says, there's pain here. We're going to steer away from this. So what we're going to do is we're going to head down to the pub now, and we're going to order vodka until it comes out of my ears. So, to summarize this, the main thing that causes a person to lose their happiness from a state where they were happy and now they're not are triggers in the environment which are pressing these buttons and these packages of pain from your past. Okay? And that has to be cleared up. Now, we've looked at the effects of it. The problem is this, right? Of course I've given you tools that you can use immediately. But if you don't handle this, you could be doing really, really well here on your goals. But the next time something goes wrong, that's similar to something that happened to you in the past, that reactive mind is going to pound on top of you, and it's going to start affecting your emotions. Okay? Now, I have a little exercise for you before we move on to the solution. No. Where is it? Yeah. I don't want you to write this down. I just want you to think about this, okay? I want you to think about your own situation in life and your own happiness level, where it currently stands, okay? As I mentioned, if these things are left here and you don't do anything about them, it grows. And it grows and grows every time a new incident triggers it off, and it gets added to. So you're walking around after many years with a big package of stress and pain. Now, my question for you is this, and you don't have to write this down, just think about it. Whatever situation you have personally in your life that you feel is causing you unhappiness, what's it going to be like in 4 or 5 years' time if you don't do anything about it? That's all, that's the demo. I just wanted you to get that concept. If you don't handle it, what's it going to be like in 4 or 5 years' time, or 10 years' time, or 2 years' time? The primary culprit is this. If that stuff is cleared up, you are much more able to experience things, because things won't be getting triggered so automatically. You are much more able to be in control of what you say and do when it comes to other people. And that in turn is going to bring up your happiness and your morale. And you're going to be much clearer about your goals, because your reactive mind is not going to be steering you away from positive goals. Because you need to be going for positive goals, but if your reactive mind thinks there's any pain connected with it, it's going to steer you away. Okay. Now, John, awakening happening to me in this section. Okay, John, good. All right, folks. Now, we're coming up to 9 o'clock. I'm going to show you, and I want to stop sharp at 9. And by the way, what I do normally is I'm going to end the webinar at 9 or just about there, and then I'm going to leave it open. So anybody who wants to leave can leave at that point, and then I'm going to leave it open for some questions and answers. So I want to show you very briefly what I recommend to do. Of course, you can apply these steps, but from my perspective, and the reason I'm here is to stress point 4, clear up the reactive mind. This is the most important thing, because if you don't do that, it's going to make it much harder for you to handle the other ones. Okay, so I'm going to just share a slide with you here. This is a course that I deliver on a Friday night, and it's on Zoom. Okay, so it's called the Mind Explained course, and I deliver it between 8 and 9 p.m. on Zoom. There are 4 modules in it. Part 1, each one is 1 hour long. And I do them on a circular basis, okay? So I do part 1, 2, 3, and 4 on subsequent Friday nights, and then I come around to start again on point number 1 again, 2, 3, 4. So if you miss one, you can catch it the next time around, or we send you a recording of it if you absolutely can't attend. So the first part explains to you what is the mind, what's it made of, what goes wrong with the mind, and because it's important to know this, because the way you think is going to affect your happiness. If you're not in control of your mind and your thoughts, it is directly going to affect your happiness. Part 2. In here we go into the real source of mistakes in irrational behavior. We go into the root. What is at the very bottom? What started the trouble with you? Where did it all go wrong? Part 3. This is about losses and traumas in one's life. So we really dig in here into losses particularly. This is a very, very important part of the topic that I deliver on Dianetics, is losses. So if you've lost somebody close to you, you're going to want to know how that's affecting you, why it is that you can't get over it so easily, and what you're going to do about it. It's really important to know that data. And part 4 is basically the solution, and in this one we break down what you need to have in place in order to fix this whole situation, so that you are back there creating your goals and handling your problems, so that you can achieve that happiness that I went over. Okay, so now on the next slide, The Mind Explained, so as I said, it's 4 lessons. It's between 8 and 9 p.m. on Zoom on a Friday night. And the next slide is, it includes a copy of the Dianetics book, and that's the book I showed you at the beginning. It's not digital, it's an actual physical paperback 500-page book with a beautiful glossary and very easy to read. It's a fantastic book. It goes with the actual course, so that comes along with it. Okay. Now, in terms of the next slide, we have the cost of the course. The course is for all 4 modules. It's €20. So you have the 4 modules plus the book, and the total is €20. Now, if you want to buy the book on its own, it's €20. So, like, literally, it's a free course. Basically, it's a free course. Okay? I mean, you don't have to know maths to work it out. If you bought the book on its own, it's €20, but you get the 4 modules plus the Dianetics book, it's €20. So let me just repeat that. For €20, that includes the 4 modules, and I'll be personally taking care of you in each of those modules to make sure you understand everything. And the Dianetics book, it's sent to you with free shipping. The book is sent to you with free shipping immediately as soon as you enroll, and it's available in 50 languages. So it's very, very easy to get it in your own language, okay? All right, so that's that, and the next slide is basically the number. So there's going to be a link going up there now in a minute, where if you're interested, you can enroll through the link, but you can also call that number. Now, for anybody who is interested and wants to enroll on it tonight, and honestly, folks, I really would love to have everybody on it, because my only purpose is to help. I want to help you. Yes, there's materials involved. Yes, it's €20 for the book, but that's pretty much to cover the cost of the materials and the shipping. That's it, you know. Well, actually, the book, when I said the shipping, I mean the shipping is free. The book itself is €20, okay? So just for clarification. If you enroll on it tonight, okay, we will also send you this little manual, and it's called The Way to Happiness, and it contains 21 kind of little recommendations that you can use in your life on an immediate basis to start improving your happiness, okay? So you get the book and the little book called The Way to Happiness and the Mind Explained course, and the whole thing is €20, okay? And that is going to be going up there. The link has already gone up there, and the phone number. Okay, folks. So I'm going to end off now. So I want to say thank you very much to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram for being here for the hour. I hope this has helped you tonight. It's been my pleasure to be with you. For everybody on Zoom, thank you all so much for being here and for all your examples. And for anybody who wants to stay, you can do so, because I'm going to leave it open for questions and answers for about maybe 10 or 15 minutes afterwards. So I'm going to officially end the webinar, and I'm going to leave it open again. So it's kind of going to close, but it's not going to close, okay? So before I do, and for anybody who wants to leave, it's fine. I'm just going to thank everybody on Zoom. So thank you, Katie, Jurgana, John, Mick, Marie, Walter, Lorne, Andrew, Magda, Daniel, King, and Mbole. Hello, Mbole. I haven't seen you in a while. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And if you want to go and have your cup of tea or have the rest of your evening to yourself, feel free to do so. I won't be offended. Thank you so much. So I'll say goodbye to you. Anybody who wants to sign off, it's totally fine. For anybody who wants to stay, now we're in the second part of the webinar. This is the questions and answers. So this is an opportunity for you to ask any questions, absolutely anything under the sun, moon, and stars. I don't care. If it's a question about history, history was probably my worst subject in school, so don't ask me about history. Just maybe about this topic or something, okay? So you can ask any questions that you want or make any comments, pop them into the chat, and I will be taking care of them right now. So I'm going to pause, drink some water, and then give you an opportunity to type in any questions that you have. Please feel free. Absolutely anything that you want to ask. I don't care. Good, good, good. Marie. Oh, did I miss a few comments? Okay, it's already happened to me many times in life. I've been in my reactivated mind. Okay, thank you, John. And Marie, link not working. Okay, well, Sylvia's going to sort that out. Catty, you're welcome. Marie, I'm glad it helped you. Andrew, you're very welcome. Mambole, you are so welcome. Mick, see ya. Thank you very much, Mick. And your, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to get this. Gurjana, thank you so much as well. And good night to you too. So as I said, if you want to leave, it's completely fine. But I normally just leave it open for anybody who has any questions. So I'm going to clear off the board here. No, actually, do you know what? I won't. It's too artistic. I'm just going to leave it there and show you this. I'm going to block off my art and just show you all the writing stuff. But if you have any questions there, pop them in there now. Okay, let's see. Okay, King. Okay, let's see. John, is it possible to be happy always? John, I love your question. I love your question. I absolutely love it. When I gave you the definition of happiness, right? It's the overcoming of not unknown obstacles toward a known goal. So, as long as you are making progress in that and you are feeling like, you know what, I can do something about my life, I can do something about my health or my possessions or my kitchen or my dog or my wife or my husband or my kids or my group or the planet, you feel like you can do something and you know that you're making the progress, that happiness is going to be maintained. And in fact, when you clear up all this baggage, there's much more hope for the future. There's much more willingness to deal with life, so that if you do hit a barrier, you're more willing to actually confront it. So the degree to which your happiness stays there once this stuff is cleared up is much, much higher. Okay? And so to answer your question, a person would be much happier in life, much more able to create their lives once this stuff is cleared up fully, and be able to maintain it. Now, if a person loses their goals or they hit a barrier that they just can't get over and it's wrecking their head or whatever, it can affect your happiness. Maybe it can bring you down a bit. But once this past stuff is cleared up, you tend to recover from that much, much more easily. So it's much easier to keep your happiness maintained, you know? Not that you have to even do anything about it. It maintains naturally. You kind of feel content, you know, with life as you're going along. So I hope that answers your question. King has left the building. Okay, that's fine. Wherever you are, you're very welcome, King. Okay, let's see. A link is still not working. Okay, Lauren, got it. Any chance it can be sent to you? I'm sure Sylvia can send you the link, Lauren. Thank you, Walter. Technical issue with the website. We're trying to fix it now. Sorry about that. Okay, training starts at 8. Training. Okay, we're all going to do some push-ups. No, training. Yeah, the course starts at 8. 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Okay, Marie, I mean, what date is the first of the 4 sessions on again? This Friday, okay? So this Friday is number 1, actually. We finished number 4 last week. But literally, I take every individual one as a separate unit. And, yeah, a person can join up anytime. But, yeah, it's ideal. A person starting this week, it is number 1 this week. It just happens to be that this is number 1. But even if somebody's starting on number 3, I still get them to start, because it's better to start than to leave it. And they can always catch them the next time around, you know. But yeah, we'll be starting number 1 this particular Friday. Okay, folks, so for anybody else has any questions, please don't hesitate to pop them in to the chat. Great, Marie, you're welcome. Maybe I can just tell a story or something while you're all typing away. You know, you're typing your things. Yeah, I'll tell you now, my story. I was in Munich in 1992. I was walking towards an Irish pub on a Saturday evening after I had found, no, hang on, was it a Friday evening? I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday. It was either Friday or Saturday evening after I had found a job in Munich for the summer. I got a job in a can factory. I was putting lids on cans to earn money. I went over with the glossy job of getting a job in BMW, but I don't know, I just didn't get a job there. but I got this job in a can factory, and I was delighted because the pay was great. But anyway, on my way to the pub to meet my colleagues that came from college as well, I was stopped by this guy, and he introduced me to the subject. Before I got to the pub, I went into the place. I thought to myself, you know what, I am interested in the field of self-improvement. I'm interested in helping others. What can this do for me? So I got a book, I actually got a couple of books, and I said, you know what, this does make sense to me. This is the first time something was very practical, clear, no nonsense, no high-flown ideas. It was very practical, and that's what I was looking for, something that made sense. So I got the book, and I used this to help other people. I got trained on Dianetics, and then I started, I had the realization that I needed to maybe get some myself, because even though I was very active at the time, I was still a little bit hyperactive, actually, a bit stressed inside, and this massively helped me. I got rid of huge amounts of stress that I never thought I had, but it just went away when I actually got a very small amount of Dianetics, received it, and a huge amount of baggage went away. And how do I know that? Because I felt like a ton of stuff left my shoulders, and it has never come back. It never came back. It did not come back. And that is the wonderful thing, and it's the reason why I've stuck with this book and this subject for over 25 years, is because it works. And I've seen it working for other people. I've used it for others. I've used it for myself. It works. It's practical. It makes sense. The author is an absolute genius. And it's a natural, it's based on the most natural form of therapy that we've had, which is communication. Right. Okay. Anybody else has any questions? Sylvia just popped out and the website is fixed and the link works. Hurrah! Hurrah! 3 cheers for Sylvia. Thank you, Sylvia. Okay, anybody else have any questions, comments? While you're doing that, if you do, great. Otherwise, I'll just go into briefly a little bit more about the modules. As I mentioned, it's based on this book. As in fact, all my webinars are based on this book, and sometimes I bring in quotes from other materials from this author, but mainly it's based on the book. The whole purpose of Dianetics is to help you and to give you a procedure where you can find these things, because often they're very buried and you don't know where they are or what they are. So it helps you to be able to find them, and once you've found them, using the Dianetics procedure to completely clear up any negative effects that they are having on you in present time. And you would be surprised the things that you can find and the things that you learn about yourself. You would be amazed. Things that you thought you completely forgot about, and you're like, So it's very useful. And not only that, but you can use this book and the material in it to help somebody else. So even if you're fine, let's say you're totally happy, everything's going grand, but you're concerned about others, you can use this manual to help other people. Use the procedure in it. It's on book 3, chapter 5, and we'll go over that in more detail on the solution section of the Mind Explained course. So das ist das. Okay, and Marie is leaving the building. Marie, thank you for being here, and good night to you. Okay. Right, folks, so there's no more questions coming in there. So I'm kind of thinking we should wrap up. John, thank you very much for having your camera on the whole time. Nice to see you. Hope the puppy's doing well there. Good. And so I want to say thanks very much, Marie, Walter, Daniel, and Mbole. Thank you so much for being here. We will wrap up now, and I look forward to seeing you all very, 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 very soon again. Okay, folks? So good night. Take care.